Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our 2024 Thrive in China Roundtable. Firstly, Happy New Year to everybody that is watching this live and everybody that might be watching this on replay. If you are not aware of what our Thrive in China Roundtable is all about, the Roundtable is a weekly topic, if you will, around the services that we offer, providing case studies in terms of corporate administration and corporate services in the Hong Kong and China realm. Today's topic is a little bit different, though. Today, I am going to be talking more about the macro aspects surrounding China, what we saw in 2023, what we might be seeing in 2024, and closing off today's session a little bit with my point of view, if you will, in terms of what happened last year and what's going to happen this year. For those of you who don't know who we are, Woodburn Accountants and Advisors is one of the leading business setup and corporate administration advisory firms in China as well as in Hong Kong. We have over, I want to say 40 years now of experience. Our business started off with my father. We're a family-owned business, and my brother and I have since been taking over the business. My brother being based in Hong Kong and me originally based in Shanghai, but now posted up in Luxembourg. And what we do is we help foreign investors with their inbound market entry into China. So we create business models that suit commitment levels, financial levels. We implement those business models, and then we take care of all of the complexities surrounding corporate administration in China. If you're interested in learning more about us, head on over to our website. It's woodburnglobal.com. A little bit about myself. My name is Christina Kohler-Coluccia. I'm the head of business advisory at Woodburn Accountants and Advisors. I am a leading expert on inbound investment into China, meaning this is all I've done in the last 20 odd years of my career. I've been focused on helping foreign investors enter the Chinese market, creating business models for them, maneuvering, distribution, sourcing arrangements, and also helping them implement their subsidiaries and administer those subsidiaries in terms of ongoing services like accounting, tax, corporate governance, corporate administration, etc. I have helped now over 750 companies of all stages, everything from startups, venture capitalists, all the way through to publicly listed companies going into China. If you want to connect with me, you're more than welcome to. You've got my WeChat QR code right there. Go ahead, scan it, and connect with me. And I can even bring you on into the Thrive in China community, but I'm happy to have a conversation with you guys on WeChat as well. So our first roundtable for 2024 is today. The roundtables, we're going to have weekly roundtables all the way up to the end of the year. If you guys are interested in looking at our past roundtables, we've got 2 playlists on our YouTube channel, one for 2022, one for 2023. I would kind of ignore the 2022 one because all of the information in 2023 is updated and new information from last year. And definitely keep an eye out on the topics that we're going to be doing for the rest of the year. I'll highlight what those are at the end of today's presentation, but you can also head on over to our website in the events section. They're all listed there up until the end of January, and I believe now we're adding in February as well. Now, I don't normally do presentations like I'm doing today, but I thought with the turbulence that has happened in the last 3 to 4 years, it might be good to reflect a little bit on what's happened in China and what do we see for 2024. So the first half of today's presentation is really bringing in together what I'm reading from a variety of different news sources, whether it's from IMF, World Bank, South China Morning Post, newspapers, whatever, statistical data. I'm trying to bring everything in to give an overview of what we are expecting this year. which is kind of why the topic is, let's rewind a little bit, let's reflect, and let's reveal what's going to be happening in 2024. So in terms of today's presentation, right, we are looking at the challenges that are coming up ahead. I would love to be optimistic and say everything is going to be rosy and easy, but I very much doubt that. And I don't believe it's only for China. I think the economic outlook on a global scale is quite daunting, overwhelming. I have certainly plenty of concerns, and I definitely see that for China as well. So as I mentioned, today we're going to be delving into the intricacies of China's economic landscape. We're going to discuss key elements that shape its present state and what we are forecasting for 2024. Okay. So to start off with, slides are slowly changing. So China's economy is poised to achieve a growth rate of approximately 5% by the end of 2023. I have not seen the final figures for 2023. If you have, then by all means, please insert that into the chat box. I have not seen them as of yet. I'm still working on the predictions that were set by the IMF and the World Bank, by China as well, and other places, that by the end of 2023, it would be around 5%. However, this growth trajectory faces hurdles, obviously, in a variety of different sectors. The challenges notably encompass the electric vehicle industry, the property market, which is volatile, and the mounting debt of the various local governments within the different territories of China. Now, I do want to just give a positive spin on this. 5% growth is still a positive growth that we are not seeing in other markets around the world. So although China is suffering, we see issues and challenges that are arising. I think it still is commendable that there is growth, but it is essential to understand what the complex dynamics are affecting a variety of industries that are causing the debt, etc. So the electric vehicle industry, for instance, faces risks of overcapacity due to a multitude of startups compared to certified car makers. And this potentially does cause implications for the broader economy for China as well. Now, projections from notable institutions, like I said, the IMF is where I'm looking, the World Bank is another one where I'm looking. They are indicating an expected growth rate of around 4.4% or possibly lower for 2024. Now, these forecasts obviously are signaling a potential deceleration in growth compared to the previous years in China. Now, the shift in the growth forecasts raises concerns about what is the sustained economic momentum for China, and obviously, where are we going to see downward trends and in what sectors those might be. But I am finishing off with today's presentations looking at the positives and the positive trends that I am seeing in China. So I hope we'll finish today with a bit of a positive influence. Now, despite the supportive measures contributing to a modest rebound in Q3 and Q4 of 2023, obviously, there are still underlying concerns which persist. There is weak business confidence in China. I have had friends who have traveled to China in 2023, whether they be foreigners or even local mainland Chinese living abroad that are going back to see family, going for vacation, or even going for business, that can see amongst all age groups in China that there is a lack of confidence in the government. There's a lack of confidence in the business environment. There are also uncertainties about the property investments and the sustainability of the ongoing recovery. These are all looming challenges, right? And it's essential to acknowledge the progress made by the Chinese government in Q3 and Q4, while obviously being mindful of the vulnerabilities that could impede a sustained recovery in China. All right. Now, what I'm saying is basically what you're reading in all the newspapers at the moment. This is all nothing really new. Everybody knows that there is a lack of confidence in the market. The reasons behind it are clear. I mean, I'm not projecting everything, but I just want to highlight a little bit where there are concerns. So the first really bigger concern is around the local government debt crisis. Okay. There has been considerable exposure of regional banks to local government financing vehicles, the LGFVs, which has led to a 60 trillion renminbi debt crisis, right? And this issue obviously demands urgent attention by the higher ups in the government, because again, as I mentioned earlier, this will profoundly affect China's economic stability, its growth trajectory. It will also influence other industries and other sectors in the market. The proliferation of the electric vehicle startups versus the certified car makers has raised concerns about potential overcapacity, like I mentioned earlier. And I just want to throw out a couple of statistics so you can understand. Over the past decade, as many as 500 electric vehicle startups were created in China, but just 200 car makers are certified by the government for mass production. So there is a tremendous imbalance which needs to be understood, and we all need to understand what are the implications of this imbalance, right? Because it's going to reverberate around all of the other economies and sectors and industries as well. This whole electric vehicle industry is something that is and should be a main priority of the Chinese government. And again, they have looked at this during Q3 and Q4. Now, there have been recent revisions in growth forecasts by the IMF and the World Bank. In October 2023, the IMF revised down its growth forecast due to the property crisis, inflationary pressures, and obviously geopolitical concerns between the US and China, Russia and China, Taiwan and China and the US, and everything else that's coming along from other countries around the world. The World Bank also adjusted its growth forecast for 2024, again, primarily looking at the falling property prices and the confidence levels that were occurring. So in general, there is a fragility in the market. And I just want to reiterate, this is also something that we're seeing as we are talking to the people that are on the ground and living there as well. The uneven growth factors, including, again, property downturn, inflation, elevated unemployment rates. I don't have the statistic on me, but unemployment rates for the Gen Z and millennials is enormous. Again, I don't have the stats on me right now, nor in my head, but this is something that people should be looking at. Right now, we're only hearing about property issues, disinflation, all of that, but one should also look at the unemployment rates as well as the decline in exports. And this all presents complex economic scenarios. Now, policymakers are facing increasing pressure to introduce new stimulus measures to address these concerns. There are needs for strategic interventions to stabilize the growth, and this will be the main aim of the government for 2024. There is a softening of global demand, which has adversely affected several Asian countries, whether it be Malaysia, Vietnam, etc., which are resulting in declines in good exports. The influence of the new US industrial and trade policies on the region are further placing pressure on these challenges. And obviously, this is affecting everybody's feeling around China as well. Now, there are, to look at things a bit positively, there are a multitude of significant regulations that were introduced in 2023 that has reshaped a variety of different industries, right? I don't only want to look at the negative side of things, we have to look at the positives. And I want to highlight today 10 new regulations that have come up around foreign investment, tariffs, data security, taxation, women's rights, etc., that are helping to navigate the Chinese economy and pushing it into the right direction. So if I just look at 10 of these today, there are a lot more, but for me, these are the big 10 ones. One is the catalog of encouraged industries for foreign investment. This is a list of industries where foreign direct investment is encouraged and where these foreign investors can benefit from favorable policies by the Chinese government. The number of industries has increased in 2023. We are looking at further increases in 2024, but the increases in 2023 were around industries in high-tech manufacturing, production-oriented service industries, green development, healthcare, elderly care, sports, vocational education, and rural revitalization. All right, so that's a big one. The next is the 2023 tariff adjustment plan, where 1,020 commodities were subject to provisional import tariff rates, which were lowered compared to the MFN rates. So the MFN are the most favored nation rates, and this included things for anti-COVID medications, etc. So that's something also not to be overlooked. Measures for data security management is also a big thing. I'm pretty sure you've seen this everywhere. I'm looking at this at all of the legal articles that are coming out. It is really all about data security management. And, you know, if you do have a business in China, this is something that you should be looking at in 2024 about security precautions, how you are gathering, processing, transmitting data, as well as discarding data. Exemption of vehicle purchase tax on new energy vehicles. This is a subsidy extension, showed that the government wants to support the industry, expand in this critical market. But again, we're looking at those debts as well. The next is what the Hainan Free Trade Port is doing in terms of attracting high-level talent into the region. There are great preferential policies if you are looking to set up in Hainan. It's not really on the mainland. It is an island off of the mainland. Strategically, the geography of it is not ideal, but Hainan is attracting a lot of foreign investment due to its policies, due to attracting this high-level talent that is coming in. The next is the law on the protection of women's rights and interests. Although there was a law previously, now it is extremely more clarified in terms of what is sexual harassment in the workplace. It also includes now the new regulation about sexual harassment in terms of verbal remarks, written language, images, physical behavior, etc. Make sure you have your HR policies in place to cater to that, but it is a great initiative that has now occurred. There have also been provisions of the Supreme People's Court on several issues relating to the jurisdiction over foreign-related civil and commercial cases. Basically, in short, this regulation aims to protect the rights of parties involved in litigations, both domestically as well as internationally. And again, this is something that is leading into a positive realm for foreign investors. The Chinese government has also updated its general financial accounting system. We are hoping that this will eventually pass on into the businesses within China, where basically they are looking at accrual basis for their accounting systems, especially when consolidating their budget management functions, etc. So if they are moving away from the Fapiao cash accounting system, hopefully that can be reflected then also into businesses in the coming years. So that I also see as something that's very positive. If you are in the food and beverage sector, the agricultural product quality and safety law has also been revised in terms of verifications of certificates and qualifications by suppliers that are supplying the food and beverage items. There's now obligations of an online platform where operators have to indicate what products they're selling and what are the supply chains looking like. Again, just keeping the country protected and making sure that products that are not out of date are being sold, but also that the high quality of the products and food and beverage products are being sold. And then last but not least, it's in relation to the personal information data and the cross-border transfer of personal information. This is really pertinent to foreign investors in China. If it comes down to employee information data, how is that being transferred from China to your home jurisdiction? What protection methods do you have involved to protect that data of that individual? So there are positives that have come up, and I just want to highlight this, that there have been, and I mean, this is only 10 regulations, right? These are 10 regulations that I see as pertinent depending on the industry and sector and just the overall view of how China is moving forward. There have also been financial reforms taking place in Beijing. Beijing's comprehensive plan to reform and restructure the financial regulatory framework signifies a strategic move aimed at enhancing stability and oversight. The establishment of a central commission and a national bureau accompanied by changes in regulatory bodies does reflect an effort to address existing financial sector challenges. These reforms hold significant implications for the financial industry. They do require careful monitoring. And if you are in that sector, especially the fintech sector, make sure you are following this and keeping yourself updated on what these new regulations are. Part of this is the establishment of the National Bureau, which has been critical in making sure that things are moving forward, especially with the debt crisis. So this has again been something governmental and positive that has been occurring in Beijing. Now let's look at the business landscape and the transformations that have occurred there. For us, we've seen 4 prominent trends: consumer confidence, digitalization, the rise of Gen Z, and buyer behavior changes as well, which have reshaped China's business landscape. Now, understanding these trends is essential for businesses aiming to adapt and thrive in China. Analyzing the impact of these trends and aligning your marketing strategies or just general business strategies to what the market dynamics are will be critical in 2024. Now, as I mentioned, digitalization has redefined consumer habits. It's redefined what the social media landscape looks like. It's redefined e-commerce as well. For me, digitalization has kind of been a blending of boundaries between real and virtual worlds in China. I had a client who visited China in November of last year, and his comment to me was, I don't know whether it's my age or whether I'm just not up to date, but I just could not keep up with all the various apps and digital apps that I had to use just to survive and go around the city on a day-to-day basis. So it just shows your phone is critical. Making sure you have the right apps available on your phone is critical. But obviously, this whole digitalization landscape is one of the most significant ones in China. China is a leader in digitalization, and social media is one of its most powerful drivers and tools. Social media marketing is vital for any business seeking to expand into the Chinese market. Platforms like the Little Red Book are viral among young Chinese netizens. In addition to that, companies now in 2024 need to start leveraging VR and AR technologies together with social media in order to be able to just differentiate themselves. To give you an example, there is an e-commerce app called Diwu, which has created the most extensive AR shoe model library, and it allows users to try any model, feel its size by relying on this technology. I've never even tried something like that. I can't even personally imagine what it would feel like to use an app and try shoes on and look at models and look at colors and whether it suits me or not. So it's just amazing that this is what's happening now. So moving really into this AR, VR technology when it comes to social media and e-commerce is something that will happen and is already happening for 2024. There is also the rise of Web3, blockchain, NFTs, etc. Now, blockchain technologies continue to attract and give rise to new products. Tech giants like Alipay and Tencent have launched their own NFTs. Even state-owned companies like Mango TV and Xinhua News Agency have also launched their own NFTs. The demand is so strong that the Business Wire reports that this industry alone is expected to hit $48 billion by 2028. So this is something that is increasing over time. The next thing is Gen Zs and how they are shaping and influencing the Chinese market. Now, Gen Zs are undeniably the economic force of the future, whether we're looking at that in China or anywhere else around the world. Those born after 1995 account for more than 260 million individuals and will make up around 30% of the population by the end of 2025. They are willing to spend more than previous generations, and currently they are accounting for around 40% of all consumption in China. So don't forget about the Gen Zs. Buyer's market. Now, while the buyer's market is not substantial, this trend in China still remains quite important. Unlike previous generations, modern consumers have become more careful buyers. With the availability of online information, they're going to take time to research a product before actually buying it. They will compare quality, they will compare price, they will seek different platforms to understand if there are better deals, return policies, pricing policies, etc. Now, despite being known for good reason for their saving habits, Chinese consumers are willing to spend more on premium products. They always have. And with that in mind, you still have to create marketing strategies that align with this buyer's market as well. The metaverse. Now, over the past year in 2023, the metaverse has become increasingly substantial in China, with actually more and more local brands as well as foreign brands testing these waters and expanding into this segment. The metaverse can be explained as a virtual world that allows for greater integration of the digital and physical worlds. A lot of this is related to gaming. A lot of this is related into shopping experiences, but it is presenting itself as a new opportunity for brands, businesses, developers. Just to give you an example, in 2023, 16,000 metaverse-related trademark applications were applied for by Chinese companies. So it is a growing market area. Most of the big tech companies have released their own metaverse ecosystems, creating avatars, virtual environments, etc. Now, as I mentioned earlier, but I do want to highlight it again, in China, the Chinese consumers are showing greater interest in the metaverse, but predominantly related to gaming, okay? In fact, among Chinese consumers who are interested in the metaverse, over 82% are optimistic about its future, its benefits, and this is a lot more than what we see in the Western world. Virtual influencers are the new celebrities in China. AI-generated virtual influencers are amassing a huge number of followers. They are becoming celebrities, and this industry alone is expected to increase from about $870 million in 2021 to $6.7 billion in 2025. This is enormous. When you are looking at your marketing strategies for 2024, you need to start thinking about these technological advances and thinking about these virtual influencers versus these real life influencers as well. What we have seen in 2023 is a crackdown on a lot of the real life influencers. I don't know how else to name them, where they've done tax evasion and overnight their whole ecosystem collapses, and then you're suddenly looking for other influencers. So this is where potentially virtual influencers can come into play. They're owned by companies. You can sign agreements with these companies versus having these one-to-one agreements with the real life influencers. Now, leading totally off of the online virtual world, I want to bring in two industries that are booming. One is the pet industry, totally out of what I've just talked about, but I do want to highlight this. Over the past 10 years, the pet industry has grown by 2,000%. And it grew drastically over the COVID period. Not only are the Gen Zs going out into the world and saying, we don't want to live with our parents anymore, we wouldn't want to live by ourselves and have our own apartments, they then get pets, not virtual pets, real life pets, to keep them company. And it has changed the dynamic of the family units. But what we have seen is that in all categories of the pet market, from pet food to pet toys to pet technology devices to pet clothing, we are looking at the industry reaching around 113 billion US dollars by the end of 2025. Over 76% of pet owners in China are under the age of 30. Okay, so we're talking about these Gen Zs, where they are the ones that are consuming and spending the money. If there are areas where I would recommend foreign investors to look at, it's looking at healthy, premium, natural pet foods and treats. This is something that, again, all pet owners are looking at. Other trends include pet tech devices like automated feeders, smart cameras, smart litter boxes, etc. So keep your eye out on the pet industry. Another one is adventure and the outdoors. Since the borders opened, there's been a rising interest in the outdoors, whether it's going skiing, whether it's going camping. The Chinese consumers are more willing than ever to try out new hobbies and activities and get out of the house, especially since the COVID lockdowns, than ever before. The Winter Olympics in Beijing helped drive this interest into adventure sports. When Eileen Gu also won the gold medal, having a mainland Chinese person promote everything that was happening, this has also driven the excitement of all types of winter sports as well. So Chinese consumers are interested in hiking, camping, and the market is expected to reach 100 billion US dollars by 2025. Now, in conclusion, understanding the intricate interplay of economic factors, regulatory changes, consumer trends, this is really what is crucial for navigating China's business landscape. In 2024, we have to look at adapting strategies to align with these trends. We have to foster innovation. We have to embrace these new consumer behaviors. This is something we all have to strive for. Now, I did say early on in the presentation that I was going to give you what my opinion is on 2023 and what I'm foreseeing in 2024. When the borders opened in January 2023, I was in shock. Because it just happened so suddenly. And I actually really was expecting the government to come back and say, we're going to change this now. I had not anticipated that they would keep the borders open for the whole year of 2023. My feeling was those that were the daredevils, those foreign investors that were like, okay, the borders are open, let's go venture out. They went out to reacquaint themselves with the Chinese market. And this is what I mean. When I talk to a lot of my clients that have traveled there or friends that have visited family there, they are reacquainting themselves with the Chinese market. I just spent 3 weeks in Hong Kong, and I felt like I was reacquainting myself with my hometown, going on hiking tours, seeing what the city had to offer for itself. I had forgotten. 3 to 5 years of not being able to go to a place, there, of course, it changes. People change, and you kind of have to reacquaint yourself with the market and what's new in the market. So I was not expecting massive growth. And for me, looking at the stats, whether you want to say it's a 4.5% growth or a 5% growth for 2023, quite frankly, it's still growth that I don't see in Europe. Having been in Europe now for 3 years, it's depressing. It's still optimistic that there was something happening in 2023. Were there challenges? Of course. In what jurisdiction are there no challenges currently, though, right? So I was expecting a very, very small growth. I was actually expecting less than 4.55%. I was definitely expecting a roller coaster ride. It actually was a pretty smooth opening to the market. And I think a lot of people have closed the year being more successful than they had anticipated. Of course, it really depends on the industry and sector that you're in, but in general, I work with a lot of brands that are looking to sell into the Chinese market, and for those brands, they are, maybe not exceeding budget expectations, but seeing how the year flowed, exceeding opinionated expectations. Now, this does not mean that there were not companies that suffered. There were not companies that didn't pivot their business strategies quick enough. So I have seen in November and December quite a few clients of mine downsize their operations, i.e. cut headcount. And I've also seen not a lot in the grand scheme of things, but a couple of companies exit the market. What do I see for 2024? I see challenges. I see a complex market, again, something that I see in every single jurisdiction around the world. The question is, how are you going to navigate that market? One of my goals is to make sure I am more on the ground, so I can visibly feel and see what is happening in the market, and I can then relate that to foreign investors that are maybe not traveling enough to truly understand what the market looks like. You have to go on the ground to have a feeling and a sense of what is going on. And I don't mean just Shanghai, Beijing, the bigger cities. Go out into the tier 2, tier 3 cities to really get a grasp of what is happening in the market. My feeling also, again, I've got quite a few clients in the food and beverage sector and brands, is really to go out and look at retail. This is something that I'm interested to see. I do have clients who are looking to go into that space. They closed down a lot of their retail activities in 2020 during COVID, so 2021, 2022. And now they're re-strategizing themselves and saying, maybe we'll start up with a couple of pop-up shops or actually go into a flagship store, retail store. And I see this developing maybe more as a strategy for 2024, with these shops coming a reality in 2025, but at least they're looking into that landscape of retail, real retail, not online retail, to see what they can do there. So I think this is something also that will be really interesting. Another area that I'm also looking at is manufacturing. How is that progressing? My interest more is to understand whether Chinese manufacturing companies are closing down and relocating into Southeast Asia. I have seen a little bit of that happen in 2023. I cannot say it's been a lot, but a little bit, especially with the bigger owned Chinese companies. I'm curious to see what's going to happen in 2024 in that perspective. I am optimistic. If we are looking, or if the predictions are looking at a 4% growth in 2024, again, I repeat, it's still a growth. More so than in other European jurisdictions, for sure. So is it slower than it was 10 years ago? Yes. Is it slower than it is last year? Probably yes. But look at the also global economic climate right now. Nobody can predict what is going to happen between Russia and Ukraine. I don't believe there's an end in sight. Who knows what's going to happen with the tensions between the US and China? Who knows what's going to happen with Taiwan? There's a lot of speculation in the market currently because there are no sure facts. So although I say China is an interesting opportunity for anybody, there is growth in the market, I would be a little bit conservative. I probably wouldn't be too grandiose with my budgets for next year. But if you want to gain traction in that market, definitely look at the strategies that I highlighted today in regards to consumers, consumer trends, and whatnot. Definitely look at the industries that I've highlighted that do seem to be really booming: pet industry, outdoor activities, etc. And get networking. The more people that you're going to talk to and network with about what they are seeing in the market, the more you're going to be able to formulate your own opinions. I'm trying right now to talk to as many people as possible to understand what's their point of view, what are they seeing in their business, in their industry, and it's going to vary from industry and sector to sector. So those are my 2 cents. Now, just to finish off today, if you have joined us today and you are looking to get started in China, then don't hesitate to set up a call with us. What I will do is, maybe I can copy it. No, no, I can't. I will send you in our follow-up email a link to my diary. And if you would like to get started and move forward with your expansion into China, then don't hesitate to reach out to me. Or if you'd like just to chat about your existing business in China, definitely reach out as well. I provided earlier my QR code. I'm providing it here again because the Thrive in China Roundtable is also pushed on into our Thrive in China WeChat community. We've got over 200 now people on there who, whenever they get stuck in a rut, start posting things, updates, regulations, and there's a whole variety of people in there, from industry leaders to different types of lawyers, marketing professionals, etc. So when you are in need of something, you have the ability to ask the question there. Even if you want to hear people's experiences or get advice, just type that into the WeChat community and you'll hopefully get some feedback. So if you're interested in joining, copy the QR code, scan the QR code, and let me know. Our next sessions, so we've got 3 more sessions in January. Next week, we are going to be talking about building a direct import program via Hong Kong. One thing that we have noticed in 2023 is the vision of looking outside of just China, looking also into other APAC jurisdictions. And so next week's title is Asia Direct, building this direct import program via Hong Kong. We're also going to be talking about, on the 24th of January, about elevating your brand, prioritizing brand expansion. I did highlight earlier how there were 16,000, I believe 16,000 applications of Chinese companies in the metaverse. So think about it. Make sure you've got your brand logos, assets all registered in China as well as in Hong Kong. And then if you want to figure out a more simple way of expanding into China, we're going to be talking about the employer of record advantage versus setting up an entity. Simply, if you just need people on the ground, then perhaps that might be an interesting strategy for you or business model for you to look at. You can go onto our website, woodburnglobal.com/events, and register there. What we are doing differently this year compared to last year is you just need to register for whatever sessions you want to register for. We won't bombard you with emails. So you have to do individual registrations for the different types of roundtable sessions. That is the end of today's presentation. I want to thank you all for joining me. I don't know if you have any questions, but if you do have questions, you can insert them into the chat box. I'm going to stop the recording, so if you do have questions, we can do them off, not offline, but off the video recording. So I will do that. But you can just type them into the chat box, and I'd be happy to answer them for you. I can wait around for 5-10 minutes. So go ahead and do that. Again, thank you all for joining, and I hope to see you again at our future roundtable sessions. Bye.